welcome to another Coach Dave Academy lap guide with myself, Kieran Harrison, and we're back in the BMW M4 GT3 again this season, covering the IMSA weeks along with some of the other drivers. This week's week 3, and we've got Le Mans, as you can see on the screen. So without further ado, let's get into it.
You've got about 2 laps of fuel left. New fast flat for you.
So that was the full speed lap on board of Le Mans, and I'm now just at the start finish line, just as we're about to start the lap that you've just seen, so I can take you through everything that I'm doing over the course of a lap. So here we are coming along the pit straight. First corner's a tightening right-hander. It's starting to fade to the right already. You can see I'm coming all the way over to the left here, making use of all of this runoff beyond the white line. None of this is illegal as per iRacing track limits, so we use it all. And then turning in just now, it's a few car lengths before this white line. I'm mainly looking at this apex over here and just judging my distance from it. We can take quite a lot of this as well. I'm trying to really keep 2 wheels on or to the left of the white line through this whole thing, so you can see I cut it to about that limit, and then I move slightly further back to the right as well on the brakes with my left wheels on the white line. And then as you can see here, we take a lot of this curve. I'm pretty sure as long as you don't go in the gravel, it's not a slowdown. I didn't get a slowdown here, and this is about as much as you could take with it being a benefit. If you went any further, you'd be in the gravel. The second part is stricter and a bit bumpier, so you don't want to take just as much curb anyway. So this one's more leaving 2 wheels on the white line or the curb to stay within track limits. And on the exit, as you can see, I'm again using a lot of the track limits. I think the limit that I've found is pretty much this little bollard on the left. If more than a little bit of your car goes through that, you get a slowdown. So what I did there was just about all right. And then coming through here, this is flat. I'm in 4th gear. It does feel like you should go up to 5th, but I find it easier to just stay in 4th. You're high in the revs, but you don't hit the limiter. And then it's only 1 downshift for the following corner. And we're basically judging this corner so that we get the car pretty much straight as the road becomes straight. And at that exact point, we start to brake. So you can see that just as I'm starting to be parallel with this outside white line, I've started to brake. And we just go down 1 gear to 3rd here, as I said. I take a little bit more curb than I think I would like, because it's a bit more, you can see there's a bit of a dip if you're on the curb. If you avoid the curb, it's a bit smoother. But I get away with it okay. It doesn't upset the car too much. And then this one, I'm taking this curb, but then the thing to be wary of is as you come off the curb, there's a bit of a drop onto the road. And if you're not careful, that can unsettle the car. You can see just the car drops a little bit. So you just have to momentarily, you can see I just straighten the steering slightly as I come over this crest as well. And short shift to 4th a little bit just to keep the rear planted. You've just got to be careful of that when you get older tyres. Then this fast right, I'm personally looking at the apex, just judging the distance, but there's a handy thing sticking out here in a white line that I'm braking just as the car's going past that. I'm starting to brake. It's not a hard braking zone, just a little bit, and I don't downshift, I stay in 4th. And again, we take quite a lot of this curve. I think that's about as much as you can get away with. So left wheel's just about staying on the white line, possibly slightly over. And then using all of the track width you're allowed on the exit. As long as you keep your right wheels on this yellow and blue curb, you get away with it. You can probably even go slightly further to the drain than I did here. It helps you to carry that much more speed onto this big straight. And I'm tending to stay in the middle on the straight, just for the tiny benefit you get from being on the middle of the sort of humped road. So I stay in the middle until reasonably late as we're starting to approach the chicane. Just as I'm going past this 300 board, I'm starting to move across to the left. And again, we want to use all of the track limit available to us. So pretty much what you can get away with on the entry to these chicanes is, as long as you have maybe half a car width to the grass, it's fine. But if you go any further than that, it's an off track, a slowdown. So here, my braking point is right where this little escape road is. Starting to brake there, just as I'm in line with it. You can also judge it off the 100-meter board, which is quite close. We go all the way down to 3rd for the first part, and you can see I smashed this cone out of the way. It doesn't feel like I do that while I'm driving, but clearly I do. And you can put your 2 wheels behind this curb. It just helps to open it up that much more. So I'm 3rd at this point, and then as I go into the left, I'm down to 2nd gear. Again, using all this curb. Getting on the power nice and early because we can extend a little bit on the exit as long as we get back so that we're mostly over the curb as I am here. I think you probably have to have your left wheels on the curb or to the left of the curb to get away with it without a slowdown. This one's slightly stricter than the following chicane, which I'll show you in a moment. Again, just driving right up the middle of the straight. This one's a left chicane, so you can see about where the 300-meter board is, I'm starting to fade across to the right. And this is about how much you can get away with. I suppose the track limit's probably if you keep your left wheels on the actual road to the left of the dotted line. I don't know how iRacing's determining it, but that could be how it is. It would line up pretty well. This one we're braking slightly later, just before this 100-meter board. But again, we're doing a similar thing where we're trying to get on just behind this curb. This one's a little bit more sharp, so I don't like to go as far over as the first chicane. But again, I'm down to 3rd gear for this first part, and then continuing to slow down for the second part. You just saw there, I just did my downshift. You can see the throttle. the engine blipping as I go down to second, and this one taking all the curbs slightly behind it, but in this one already getting on the power, because as you can see, you can take so much of this runoff on the exit. As long as you make sure you get back across this curb quite sharply, it's almost like if you get back across it with, like, while you're about halfway along it, that seems to be where the limit is. I did test going further around, and you do eventually get a slowdown, but it lets you get away with an awful lot. And then just again, because of the angle I'm coming at, I'm using all of this road. And then approaching this tighter right at the end of the straight. I'm just staying in the middle here rather than going across to the left, because I'm turning in a little bit, and my braking reference that I use personally is the start of this curb. Pretty much as we're about to get in line with it, I'm just starting to brake. We go all the way down to second for this, and just fading across the track while braking, pretty much in a straight line, just a slight amount of right turn. And again, I'm going to hit that curb cone. It's about where you want to position yourself on the turn in. And on this occasion, I get the curb, but you can actually take a decent chunk more. You can almost put your front right corner of the car through the bollards. They're not contactable. You just go straight through them, and that just allows you to shave off a little bit more time. I lost a little bit on the exit compared to my previous run here, because the tighter you take it, the earlier you can get on the power. But I get a pretty good exit anyway, using all of the track up to the gravel here. That's all legal. And then this is just a bit of a curvy straight, so I'm just cutting this curb just to trim it down a little bit. And the same with the following one. Doesn't make much difference, but you might as well do it for the marginal time gains. And then here I'm looking at sort of this AstroTurf patch that you can see there. Just as we get onto that, really, I'm just starting to come off the throttle and stop braking. As you can see, I go down one gear to fourth. Sort of as we get in towards the apex, it sort of compresses the car quite hard, so you want to get off the brakes, otherwise you can spin the car. So you can see I've sort of faded off the brakes a bit. I do maintain a little brake input the whole way, I think. But then as we come through, you can see the sparks there. Once we've had that compression, I'm starting to straighten the car up and brake harder again for the following left. So this time I get right across the right-hand side, down to second gear. And you want to get in tight to this curb, but you don't want to actually use it, because you can kind of see on the screen that it's angled against you. So you get sort of negative camber, and that sort of pushes you out the corner, whereas the actual natural camber of the road is helping you. So if you avoid the curb, you can carry a bit more speed. And then getting on the power nice and early, using all the road up to the gravel, getting back across to the left. I think I go up to fourth just before I brake here. And what I'm aiming to do here, I don't really have a reference, but you can see the 50 board there. I'm probably 2-3 car lengths before it when I'm starting to brake. But you want to get your left side wheels just to the left of this red painted area. You can't go all the way to the edge of the track. There is a slowdown there somewhere. But if you get your left wheels just to the left of the red paint, you can get away with it. And you can see that lines you up so that your right wheels are on the right side of this curb. And then we're turning in quite late because we're trying to get as straight an exit as possible, take a little bit of curb, and then on the power nice and early. I'm already getting on the power by the time I'm leaving that apex. Don't run all the way out to this wall because there's an off track there. I mean, it's only if you get very close to the wall. What I did here is fine, and there's a bit of a margin. But you have got to get back on reasonably quick anyway, because actual grass starts there, so you would lose traction. Again, another bit of a straight. And then we're heading into the fast S's. So what I'm doing here, I am all the way in sixth gear and just staying across the left. I'm aiming for that AstroTurf area just ahead. And just as we're about to hit it, or get in line with it, we're starting to brake and turn in. And I go down 2 gears to fourth here. Just missing this apex curb. You don't need to get it because it's such a fast corner. Even if you got it, you'd be off it pretty quick anyway as you wash out wide. With the wing setting we have here being on quite low wing, this is probably the most tricky part of the track, this last section. This left hand is not flat, just a bit of a lift. I stay in fourth until there. Just heard it there. You may not be able to hear it on the recording, but I just went up to fifth right now. And then as we come into this left, we have to lift a bit, because that's mainly because the rear wants to go round on you, and you want to have the car nice and settled for this turning into the right-hander. You can see I just brake in a little bit as I'm in line with this white line. and at that point is when I start to turn into this right as well, and I go back down to fourth for this one. I'm taking it almost like a bit of a double apex corner, so I take the first apex here and then wash out just a bit and then come back just as the curb's ending to try and get as far to the right before turning to the left. So you can see I'm right the way on the far right side of the track here. And then we turn in. You can actually go a little bit earlier into this and take a bit more of these yellow rumble strips bits than I get here, but I get all of the blue and yellow curb. And then on the power nice and early, you can use this yellow and blue curb with your left side wheels. As long as you get back on the track reasonably quick, it's not an off track or a slowdown. And then coming into the final section, this again is also quite tricky, the first part especially. So I'm using a little bit of this pit entry here. My braking point is roughly halfway along the dotted white line. And you can see I'm just moving half my car into the pit entry. The reason I don't go further is not necessarily track limits, but it's because this curb here is quite steep. So if you went any further, you'd have to come over the pointy bit on the top, and that doesn't help you into the left-hander. So you can see I'd run over it just a little bit, but we avoid the steepest part there. Turning in, I think I go down to third gear for this one. And again, you can take quite a bit of the track limit here, but if you go right up to the gravel, you do get a slowdown. So I think the track limit's probably determined by the right wheels still touching a part of the white line of the road. So if you get all of the car on the curb, you do get a slowdown. And then the right-hander feels subjectively while you're driving stricter. Like this feels like I'm cutting it less, but actually my left wheels relative to the white line, it's about similar. So as long as you keep left wheels on the white line, you get away with it. And this one we're braking and slowing it down even more, so that we can get back to the right-hander for the final chicane. And I go down to second gear for this one. You can see that I'm starting to brake just as I start to get the car turned back to the right. And then down to second gear, take a lot of curb again, and then a lot of curb in the final one. And as I mentioned in the previous two, I think the limit is going to be right wheels on the white line. So just because this is such a tight curb, I think probably as my rear wheel comes off it onto the curb, my front wheel's back onto the white line, which is why you get away with it. And then getting on the power as hard as you can, using all of this exit up to the gravel. And that brings you to the end to conclude the lap. So there we have it. That was the complete lap guide for the BMW M4 GT3 at Le Mans for week 3 of the IMSA iRacing series. The key thing to remember with this track, or the key thing to take advantage of really, is the iRacing track limits there. A bit all over the place here, especially that second chicane on the main straight. On the exit, you can gain so much time there by running wide. And then just trying to be safe in the last section, because you're obviously using less wing to try and be quick on all the straights. So the last section the car's not particularly suited to. You just got to try and muscle it through there really. But yeah, that's all for this lap guide. Be sure to check out the rest of the Coach Dave YouTube channel and our Discord for any more lap guides and information on the products that we sell. Yeah, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one.